Khalil Gaines is in. He's in. Petitioned the NCAA, and in NCAA fashion, I want to first of all congratulate our compliance office. Holly Baumgartner sort of headed that up, but petitioned the NCAA yesterday for him to be eligible based on his high school not allowing a transcript to, a class be put on his transcript after graduation. And by 2 o'clock, the NCAA had ratified that his online class would represent that additional core class, and he would be eligible.
For you personally, just talking about you, the man, when you knew that, because Hollis said it was not going to be just your decision with Delton, when you heard that Delton got to come back, because of the kind of kid he is, character, good kid, was that personally rewarding for you?
Very rewarding. First of all, I was the decision maker in the process. And so, obviously I wanted to bounce everything off of the people that are involved with, as our athletic director and our president. But, I was hired to do a job at Michigan State, and our administration and our leadership believes in me as a person to make the right decision. I think it was very important, as I said over there earlier, that everybody win to some degree in the process. That there was retribution that had to be made, but it still provided an opportunity for a young man to stay at the school he wanted to stay at. I thought that was important. I think it needed to be his choice. He opted out of the program. It was going to be by his choice. I did not want to dismiss him from the program because I didn't want to hurt him in that endeavor. I think it's very important that his mother was involved in the process. She's a tremendous person. Obviously, he's had some difficulty at home. But I also wanted to make sure from a university standpoint and from a leadership standpoint that our administration was satisfied with what had gone on, and that our athletic department and our athletic director, Mark Hollis, was satisfied with what's going on. So, joint decision, but ultimately the decision is mine whether to have him on our football team or not. And I just wanted to provide an opportunity, because it's very difficult when you recruit a person to look down the table and say, okay, this is what you've done for us, now we've encountered a problem, okay, and you're done. I had to do it at times. It's not a fun thing to do. But I felt like he had a choice to make. He made a tough choice, and that's where we're at.
Coach, all day everybody's been asking your players if they feel kind of slighted about other Ohio State getting more attention and everything, and their answer has generally been, we kind of enjoy flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Do you kind of see it that way also, or do you think you guys deserve a little more attention?
We're 3 deep right here. I feel fine. So, no, I think Michigan State gets a lot of credit. We have a lot of press. I think programs throughout the country have a lot of press. So, I worry about ourselves. I worry about how we handle the problems that we're encountering. How are we handling the press that we're encountering? Everybody has a standard they have to live up to. Once you guys write something, it becomes a little bit more of a standard. So, football season's a challenge in itself. We've been built for the long haul. We'll continue to push through.
Mark, what you don't see from you guys is, in 2012, going into that season, for example, there was a little more bravado because you guys arrived. The 3 seasons that have followed since then, what have you guys learned as a team? The tenor, everything seems to be toned down a little bit. And just how difficult it is to win and stay there? What is it that you
Very difficult to win games. First of all, we play a tough schedule. Play a tough schedule every single year, and everybody's preparing, and there are outstanding coaches and players in this conference and the teams that we're playing out of the conference. So very tough to win. I just try and constantly talk to our football team about being mature. And hopefully we understand that every game, if you look past certain games and you look down the road at the games later on in the season, that you have a tendency to trip. So we have to focus first of all on next Friday on coming in, and then August camp, and then Western Michigan, and that's where our focus will be. Obviously, we'll get ready for the other teams. We've got to spend time on Air Force and Oregon and Central Michigan and these other football teams, but our focus needs to be on the present and on now. We've got to stay fresh, and that's how we've done it there. And
does it help? This is a pretty seasoned group. A lot of these guys have been around and felt a lot of different emotions here in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. The fact that we've been able to do this more often than once hopefully lends to a little bit of maturity and discipline in terms of how we go about our business. We won 11 games last year, but I wouldn't say we met our goals. I would not say that.
Mark Connor was saying that if he went back and looked at his high school film, it was pretty mediocre, and he's not really sure what you guys saw in him to offer him when you did. What sort of things did you see in him? Because not a whole lot of folks were offering him.
Yeah. Well, I saw a big-bodied quarterback that played at a good high school league, at a good, in a good program that was well coached. Saw a rangy guy with a quick release and a strong arm. He did a nice job in camp, really nice job in camp. And we saw the ability to run and take a bad play and make it a good one. And I continue to encourage him to try and do those things. But because he has that ability. He's a big, long strider guy that can move for his size. And we just saw a guy with a tremendous upside.
Did you see a first-round pick?
I see a first-round pick in every guy we recruit. I really do. Or we wouldn't take him.
What's
There's not a lot of continuity, obviously, in your club. When you lose a guy like that who's been with you for so long, how was the adjustment then for you when you're coaching and not having a guy like that?
Well, there's an adjustment. There's an adjustment, but through all this, you look to always get better at what you're doing, not to go backwards. You know, through this, when he goes to Pitt, you know, he looks to get better. Through the loss of something, we look at it and say, okay, now how can that make Harlan Barnett a better coordinator? What's in store for him next? What's in store for Mike Tressel next? You know, how does our defense change? Look for the opportunity to change somewhat, but stay the same. How do we critique what we do? What were the problems last year? But it's no different than when Trey Waynes leaves. You know, Trey Waynes leaves, and it's a great opportunity for him, and you're happy for him. But there's growth ahead for Trey too, and so. But it's a change. There's no question it's a change. When you go into the office every single day, you have relationships with people, and you miss those relationships. But at the same time, you wish the best for people.
From your perspective, set policy on not taking visits after verbally commit?
Do I have a set policy?
Yeah, for verbal commitments.
Well, recruiting is a very fluid situation. I have a policy on communication. So,
from your perspective, what have you noticed about Ohio State in these last few years to explain how Meyer has gotten to that point?
Urban Meyer's a great coach, came in with a lot of the same accolades that you see any coach coming into this conference with. And I think what he's done is he recruited very well. He obviously changed their offense, adjusted their defense as well a little bit, and he's had great success. What I've seen in Ohio State this last year, which to me is one of the greatest things I could say about a program, is when they had problems, they were able to overcome those problems and that adversity, and it made them stronger as they went. And so I think that's what ultimately won them the national championship. They were a better football team in November than they were at the beginning of the season. And I think that was the result of them getting better and better and not panicking, being able to stay the course, adjust, move forward. Here's a problem, move forward, which is what we did in 13.
That concept of non-committable offers, do those exist to you? Do you ever come across them?
Non-committable offers.
Yeah, where, it's something that
I've heard that's out there, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have
I've heard that's out there.
That, or have you ever
well, we're
given
not dealing with
offer?
a non-committable offer. I don't know, I haven't. If I offer somebody, I'm going to say you have an offer. Now, there's things that go along with that, but I also understand that they can't commit until they meet me either. So I don't know what's going on out there all the time. So I guess that's what would be a non-committable offer. Would be an offer that's abstract.
So you have an offer, but not till you talk to me.
I don't ever say that.
But yeah.
No, I don't know. But I've heard that's out there.
You hear it a lot.
Well, that's a non-committable offer. So.
Or maybe you extend an offer, or a program would extend an offer to gauge or to show interest in the prospect, but when the prospect is ready to commit, sometimes the program's not willing or ready to accept it.
It's a numbers game. It's all based on numbers. It's very difficult to manage.
You and Izzo talk.
Fluid.
You and Izzo talk often about bouncing things off of each other, and in 2011, his players came out and said it's a national championship year or bust, and turned out to be kind of a rough year from them. You guys are transitioning from being hunters to hunted. Do you talk with the guys about handling expectations? Do you go back and look at situations like that, or is that something you just don't address?
No, I think you addressed that. I think, coming off the 2011 season, going into 2012, I know that there was talk about we should be this or we should be that. I think that's all premature. I think you play yourself to that. You play yourself into those situations. You don't talk yourself into those situations. I guess, like I said before, it's a sign of maturity. It's a sign of being there and having been there, and then, riding the roller coaster down too. You're riding it up, but you got to ride it down too. That's just as important. So we've tried to stay focused on the task at hand, and that's what we're trying to do.
Hey, Coach, talk about your early part of your tenure when your administration appears to have gave you some, a chance to build your program. How much do you appreciate that? How
Are
much
you trying to say I was on the verge of getting fired?
No, not at all.
I think that
How important is it, I guess?
it's very important. Very important. On the first day that I got this job, on November, I think the 26th, 2006, that I said that we all go in this direction, that we all go forward in the same direction. Is that right or wrong? Okay. I'm not sure if that's the right day, but that we all go forward, that we all go in the same respect, that we don't deviate, that we don't fall apart when things happen to us, that we don't splinter and go in our own directions. I think that's what we've done. One of the biggest things that we did in 2007 was we had zero attrition, I believe, zero attrition in that 2007 football team. I think that's where it started. We were able to go to a bowl that year, so we didn't have to take a step back and then surge forward. We went to a bowl, we beat Penn State, started out 4-0, we beat Notre Dame away, and then 2008 came, 2009 we had some issues, stepped back, but we were 6-6 that year. So we've never had a regular season where it's been a losing season. We've always sort of been like this. And we've had to learn to win first. Then we had to learn to win on the road. Then we had to learn to win in November, which I think we're 21-6 in November in 8 years. Then we had to learn how to win bowl games. And then we had to learn how to win championships. And so, there's a process to this, and we're just trying to follow the course.
What did you learn about the team post Ohio State last year? When you kind of maturely handled the Rutgers, Maryland, Penn State stretch after a lot of the buzz was gone.
Yeah.
Was that a moment for the program too?
Yeah, it was a big moment for the program, both after the Oregon game, regrouping, and then after the Ohio State game to be able to go to Maryland and play and win away from home, and what was a big game for them as well. Bounce back over here, beat Rutgers, who had some big wins throughout the year, and then go away and play the final game at Penn State and come away with 10 wins. Which is a difficult place to play. So all those things were very, very important because it showed me leadership from within, from our players, and maturity, and the ability to handle adversity. Which I think those are the things that are going to ultimately take us forward if we can continue to do those things. And college football is difficult because of the cycle of leadership I think that comes every year. Yeah, you're going to lose some players. But Trey Waynes was a great player, but he had not yet assumed the position of leadership that a senior had. Curtis Drummond was a leader. Losing Curtis Drummond is critical because he was such a leader. So who's going to assume that leadership responsibility in the back end? Who's going to assume the leadership at linebacker? Shalik was our leader up front. He decides to come back. That's a big plus. Jack Allen is back. Connor Cook is back. We lose Tony Lippett, leader of the wide receiver. Who's going to assume that position? So leadership is so critical.
Does math matter at all for Mike Tressel? Does that help him?
Math?
Yeah.
Mike's a perfect ACT score in math, as well as Coach Bowman. Certified geniuses. Okay. Yeah, math matters. Everything. Math matters very much so in college football in terms of angles, in terms of terminology and fronts, and specific tendencies and all those different things. I think that the key to everything is find out the tendency that they don't know that they have a tendency, as much as anything. And so it takes a lot of work.
Is that something that he particularly has been good at?
He's been, when I hired Mike Tressel at the University of Cincinnati, I brought Mark Staten along because both of those guys were responsible guys from a computer standpoint as graduate assistants at Ohio State. They were the computer generated guys that understood exactly how we wanted it, and then we've obviously changed and critiqued and formulated our way to where we're at now, but they've always been very highly intellectual guys.
Mark, can you indulge me in a question here? I was talking to, you got an hour here, so I can set this up a little bit.
Sure.
I was talking to Jeff Durbin about 2 weeks ago, and he was saying after you guys all got fired at Akron, you're down to coaching convention, and you and he had a conversation where you both basically wanted to go back into high school football. He ended up going back in. He said you wanted to go to Zanesville. It wasn't open. Things happened at Youngstown State.
Yeah.
One, how close were you to going back into high school ball? And two, how difficult is this job at the level that you're on now?
I was close to go back to high school football at one point. In fact, I was close to getting out of football. When I was getting ready to be married and things of that nature, and you were sort of trying to say, okay, what's the next step? And I was at Youngstown State at the time, and I interviewed at a high school and didn't get the job. And sent out some resumes outside of coaching, and they weren't very attractive offers. So I figured I might as well stay with what I've got. So it's turned out. But I always thought coaching is coaching. Coaching is about teaching young people. It's about more than just X's and O's. It's about helping people change their lives a little bit and helping people find a direction in terms of where they're going with their lives. So you can do that in high school, and you can be just as important as high school as you can be in the head coach at Michigan State. In a lot of ways, maybe even more so because you have an entire high school that looks towards you for guidance a little bit and leadership. So I have thought about that. Again, my dad was a high school administrator, so I had thought about that. But I stayed the course.
What high school job was it that you...
Oh, I'm not going to say that. I didn't get the job. I don't want to feel bad. Okay, but and then the second question was
just how difficult this job is on this level.
I think it's difficult. I think you got to keep it fresh and not take yourself too seriously at times. Even though my demeanor on the sideline would lend to me saying that guy is serious. It's tough because you have to balance so many things, but it's very rewarding in terms, not just financially, you guys all know that stuff, but it's very rewarding in terms of the impact that you have on young people. And, you see people coming at 18 years old with huge, huge dreams. And when they leave at 22, some of them have accomplished those dreams, football-wise, and some of them are off in a different direction to try and accomplish other dreams. But you have an opportunity to work with the young people for 4 and 5 years of really at a time when there is a big transition in their life, first time away from home, and all the different things. And you see that, and you feel that, and it's a big responsibility, I guess, that you would say, but I think more importantly, it's a big opportunity to invest yourself in young people.
Thanks, Mark.
Is it difficult to coach to an attitudinal edge with all the success your program has had in recent years?
Oh, no. No, we're only as good as our last practice. I mean, we're only as good as the next day that we step on the field. That's just the way we're built. We're not going to say we're better than other people. We're going to do it the hard way. That's what we've preached, and we're not going to take any team for granted. We never have. And that's the way we're going to. That's the standard that has been set at our place, and we're going to work for what we get.
Has Craig Evans responded this summer? How is he
Thus
doing in
far.
terms of conditioning? And
Thus far, it's down to 318. Yeah.
where would you like him to
318 is good.
be? Yeah, you can keep it there.
Yeah. So we'll see. He's missed a lot of football, but good player coming out.
I think in the last decade, it seems like championship teams need a quarterback who can make plays more so than years ago, where
Yeah.
they had more of a game manager type, or whatever, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I
What's
think
changed about the game that you think you need more of a dynamic type quarterback?
the game has changed probably since the late 90s. The game has really changed. But I think the game is played in space. Outstanding coaches out there, offensively and defensively and special teams. They figured out ways to put players in space, but a lot of different, everything always goes full circle. So you're seeing things from wishbone offenses incorporated into spread offenses. You're seeing things from wing teeth type things incorporated. So you're seeing diverse offenses out there, and along with that, pressuring defenses. You've got to have a guy, I think, at the quarterback position to be able to take a bad play and make it a good play. Whether it's his decision making, as Kirk Cousins did, getting us in the right play, quick decisions on the field, or whether it's his feet, like Braxton Miller was doing, or Connor to some degree in that, or whether it's his arm. But you've got to have a player that can take bad plays and create. And I think that's the norm. Every great football team offensively right now has a guy like that.
Is it more like the NFL in that regard? Because there used to be more of a uniqueness to college football.
I think it's just tougher to protect the quarterback now with all the different variations of defenses and pressures, and so you're just not able to. People say, "Hey, we're pro style and we're a two-back team," but really, how much are we in two-back? Not very much. We're in a lot of the same type of things everybody else is in. Different dynamic, different type of spread, but different. But I think everybody's lending themselves to that. Yeah.
But you have had a lot of fullbacks with you. They've been sort of.
Yeah, we have the ability to do that.
How important has Vermont been to you, and is he the best fullback you've had at Michigan State?
Yeah, I think he is the best fullback we've had at Michigan State. Although Andrew Hawken is now a graduate assistant for us, so he may hold me in contempt. But I think Trevin has the ability to catch the ball. He's made big plays in games, broken plays. I think the Rose Bowl, I think the Michigan game in 2013, right off the top of my head. He's a very good blocker. He's been able to spring people, and he gives you a different dynamic.
Is that an identity program, identity thing to have that? Sort of
Got to have one. You got to have one because if you
walk-ons and
not necessarily, but guys who transition from other positions. I don't think that we're not really out there actively recruiting fullbacks too
Nico
often.
was your only scholarship one, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. But we've taken guys from linebacker and moved them over there. Nick Benzik was I don't know what Nick was. He was an offensive lineman on the scout team. He was a linebacker. He was a little bit of everything. And he just sort of moved over there and found his way into being a starter.
Anytime you have 105 guys, you're always going to have a few that are not. But character-wise, is this probably the best group of kids, top to bottom, you've had? I mean, there are just not a whole lot of bad apples in this group.
Well, I hope so. But I'm going to just hold out on that one till the end of the year. Because, we're all dealing with problems every single day, and I think that, there's traps out there, but I think we have good people. I think, as you said, Hondo, I don't think there's any, when people say, why have you won? We've won because of continuity, but we've won because we've had great chemistry. Chemistry between our players, between our coaches and players, and among our coaches. We've had chemistry, and that's led to continuity. People don't want to leave. They just don't. Very difficult for people to leave.
Coach, you've had a lot of great D-backs in your time, and the Gophers have some as well that weren't on the preseason watch list. Were you surprised by that, and what makes them outstanding D-backs?
First of all, I think Minnesota's program itself has done a tremendous job. Defensively, they're clearly playing well. We did not play last year, so I could only see what I saw on tape. They're active. They get after it, and they're playing a lot of man coverage, a lot of high-risk defense as well, and they're active players. So, I think what makes them good is their experiences, coaching, and their ability to take risk and be confident.
What makes Trey Waynes a guy that can impact in the NFL right away?
He's long. He's very, very fast, as you guys know. He's a very good tackler. He was a great tackler in high school. He's got great ball skills, and I think he understands things. I mean, he's a quiet individual. He's a relatively introverted guy, but he listens. He's very extremely coachable. He listens and he learns, and he's not all about himself. So what'll make him a great pro is that he will come in at this level and be able to climb the ladder because he'll gain respect from other people, and people are going to be willing to always help him. But he's an outstanding athlete.
Where's Jermaine Edmondson right now? It seemed like
Great spring.
It seemed like he was first string coming out of spring. Now
Yeah.
shows up third today on the depth chart. Just a lot of competition there.
A lot of competition.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. He had a great spring. He had a great spring, and I don't know who's first.
On the depth chart?
Hicks and Cole Kuhn are listed together.
So there you go.
Who did the depth chart?
Fluid. That's another fluid situation.
Fluid situation.
Now, Arjun
No,
was mostly a boundary corner in the spring, wasn't he?
Arjun was boundary corner, yeah.
He's over on the field.
Yeah, he can play either or. Yeah, but Jermaine had a very good spring, and finally, I think he had a very good second half of spring. And I think that he's a 60-meter guy. He was a great sprinter. He's got good size, got great ball skills, he's a good tackler. So he'll have a great opportunity. But there will be heavy competition at the corner position because we've got some very, very good freshmen coming. You can play as a true freshman. We've played a number of true freshmen. C.L. Rucker started as a true freshman. Doc Denard started as a true freshman. So that's very possible, and these guys have great skills.
Is Nicholson boundary or field depending
He
on
can
if
play
it's
either.
RJ or Cox back there?
Yes.
Is that how it is?
Yes, he can play
So
either.
if it's RJ, he is
Field.
field. Okay. Cox.
But RJ can also play the field too. So they're
How do you think Cox will rep? do you start him just at corner, or are you going to keep him kind of rotating both?
I think that he'll start at corner right now because he's got to be on the field as a starter, but he'll rep a lot of safety. And I think that especially in the preseason, we got to find out a lot about our corners. As I said, our freshmen need an opportunity. So those first 10 days of camp are going to be very interesting.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about what kind of football coach Pittsburgh's hitting? Benhart, is he?
Yeah, very deliberate guy. Guy that's a defensive coach. And, I think there's been success ratio for defensive head coaches are pretty high right now. But very energetic, good recruiter, very goal-oriented, and I think that he's willing to try new things. So I think he'll do a great job.
Coach, what kind of a leader do you have in Shalik, and what are you expecting from him in his senior year?
Shalik was the leader of our defensive front last year, so he can only add to that aspect of it. And when he decided to come back, he had reasons. He had concrete reasons why. And, it was one of the biggest, he and Connor were two of the biggest things that probably happened to Michigan State postseason. But he brings a guy with great credibility among our players, among our staff, and among our opponents. He brings a great credibility there back to Michigan State. I think that's the biggest thing he does. He's an outstanding person. Yeah. It's pretty much what we've done. We don't go, we're not going live during the week. We're going thud during the week. Some contact. So I think, but August we're gonna work it. In spring we're gonna work it because I think you have to play the game full speed. But once we get into this season, that's pretty much what we've done. With Tuesday, Wednesday being, limited contact, Thursday being basically shells, no contact, and then Friday walkthroughs, and then we're on to the game. So pretty much, but I think that's probably the safe way to go.
Ed Davis doesn't get a lot of attention, but boy, when you talk to your players, they love him. They love his energy, his fire. We know what he does on the field. Would you talk about the young man himself as a person?
Yeah, another quiet guy, very unassuming guy, but when he gets on the field, he's a different person. A lot of experience. He's as good a linebacker as we've had. And I'm talking about from sideline to sideline, the ability to slip blocks, the ability to get off blocks, the ability to pressure quarterbacks, make tackles. He played behind Nico Sallin, which was a phenomenal player. He was a phenomenal player, but he grew, and even in the championship game, he had sacks, and he started to play in nickel situations. So this past year, I thought he had a great season, and I think he's poised to have a great senior season. But it's quiet. He needs to, it goes to that leadership I talked about. Is he a leader on our football team? Most would say no, except when you get on the field. Then he takes on a different persona on the field. No, they're different people. I think they're different people. Kirk Cousins, completely different person. Connor has grown as a young person. Connor is a little bit more, how would you say, mischievous. He's not going to take things as seriously at times. In a good way, not in a bad way. Takes things very serious when he comes to camp, and very much attention to detail, but playful. And Kirk was more, he had more of a, this is what's going to get done. Both these guys, though, were extremely successful, and will both have, I think both have great careers in the NFL. I think Kirk Cousins, to me, I remember the talk that he gave here still rings true to so many things that go on here in the Big Ten Conference, and truly was an ambassador, not just to Michigan State, but to college football in general. And that's a high ceiling to get to, very high ceiling. Most people are not like that. Most people don't see the picture so early in their life.